Hey, Mr. Tan Orange Man, if you rate the economy A+++++++, then how do you rate what's going to happen to my healthcare premiums in 21 days? Because I rate it an F minus.
Welcome to Political Playlist.
All right, are we ready, guys?
Happy hour.
Happy hour.
We fucked that up so bad.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Political Playlist Happy Hour. I'm Michael Kristoff.
I'm Anna Muskie-Goldwyn.
And I'm Anthony Barquette.
That
And
was
forgive the
an
language here,
angry
folks.
opening.
I'm coming from Orlando, which, if you don't know, can be a salty kind of a place. But today on the Happy Hour, we have a really good show. We're going to be talking about the politician on our playlist, Haley Stevens, who is looking to make some impeachment cuts to this administration. We are going to break down how to talk about the Senate race in Texas, coming for the drama, but we're staying for the good vibes, which is exciting. And we're going to talk about a little win of the week, which is less of a win definitively and more of a, hey, third quarter looking good. And in a moment, we're going to get to the news. But first, I have some personal news, which is going to concern Anna, which is that I have a Christmas tree up in my bungalow.
With ornaments.
There are about 30 ornaments.
Oh, that's great.
And about 30 candy canes as well. And it's looking great. I'll send you a photo so that we can post it.
Well,
as a
everyone should
proof
know
of
that
ornament.
Michael in the past has been like full serial killer vibes and had a Christmas tree with only fucking lights.
It looked great. It looked
It
great.
did not look great. It looked naked.
Well,
Well, I can't wait to see this year's.
tomato. But
I'm kind of with Michael on this though, because
What?
it's not like you save all these. You're not in the position yet where you're saving. all
Yes,
these
I have a
ornaments.
box of ornaments.
yeah,
Makes sense. You are a married
that
woman.
all adds up.
Yeah, but this was before. I feel like you do save them. Like, Michael, you're not going to throw out these ornaments you put on your tree, right?
I don't think that's the number
Well-
one thing Michael's thinking of saving every year.
Truth be told, I do now have a
don't think it
Christmas
is.
box. And
See?
for these ornaments, I will say, were actually, you didn't totally give me a fair shake because I did have actually a few ornaments. I've just now grown the ornament collection. So we
Okay.
went from like 5 or 6, which even looks weirder. Like just having like 3 ornaments on your
Unfinished.
tree is like, oh, the poor boy doesn't have a family or anyone to give him ornaments. We've now like increased the supply to like 30, but typically every, like 6 months, my mom has been sending me a new ornament. So,
That's
and this has
cute.
been happening for the last couple of years. So
That's
I've been
cute.
accumulating ornaments. Yeah.
Slowly getting your inheritance.
So unfortunately, yes, wealth distribution via the ornament route. So yeah, I do now have a Christmas box.
Wow. I'm so proud of you.
So that's fun.
I have 3.
Anyway, let's get to the news here, gang, because like I said in the cold open, and again, forgive my scientific language on the matter, but in 21 days, yours and mine and a lot of other people's healthcare premiums on the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, is about to go through the effing roof. So what's going on here and how did we get here? Well, basically, during COVID, the government put forward some subsidies to help reduce the costs of these healthcare premiums. And basically, by giving subsidies, it drove the costs of the monthly healthcare premiums way down for consumers who are on the Affordable Care Act. And now those are set to expire. So, at the end of the year, have you guys gotten those emails from your healthcare about like premiums going up X amount of dollars?
Everything's going up.
It's crazy. Yeah. As my mom likes to say, everything's going up but our paychecks, which I think is a good line. And so the Congress, the House and the Senate are debating right now. All of a sudden, this is becoming an issue on the forefront. Democrats are trying to get a 3-year extension passed. Republicans have some wild infighting going on over this, and have wildly different views on how to solve it. But my first question, Anna, why do you think this is all of a sudden getting Republicans to pay attention?
Well, Because of the government shutdown.
Mm.
I think that it is a little bit mission accomplished on the Democrats' part. I don't think the Democrats were ever going to actually get those subsidies saved via the shutdown, but they put this whole premium hike thing on the map. And so I think that, part of the shutdown conclusion was Republicans saying, we're going to hold a vote. We promised to hold, like, who knows how good a promise is, but we promised to hold a vote on extending some of these subsidies. And I think that the stats are frankly against Republicans because most people who use these ACA subsidies are in red states. So they know that a lot of their constituents are going to be affected by this. And whether or not they believe Obamacare is not a good idea or they think these subsidies were not a good idea, if a lot of your constituents are going to be poorly affected by something, then I would say you're pretty likely to try to address it, considering you're up for reelection, most likely, unless you're a senator next year. So I think that it's a combination of the attention that the government shutdown brought to the issue, and then also the fact that people are probably hearing from their constituents who are getting those emails about the price hikes.
Yeah. I mean, what continues to astound me is that, and I guess I'll get a little, political here in a way maybe I don't normally do, but it astounds me at
It's
how
okay.
many
It's a political
times
podcast, so, feel
it
free.
seems, well, we like to call balls and strikes, but I'm going to color this with some editorial. And it continues to amaze me at how often the Republicans seem to get caught without any kind of a plan. And it doesn't seem to hurt them. And, they want to they want to get rid of the ACA. Trump talked about this week. We want to just get rid of it, start all over. No semblance of a plan, right? They didn't want to address these subsidies until now. They're feeling the political pressure, and it still doesn't look like they're going to adequately address these. And time again, it seems like things that are popular with Americans are not being addressed by Republicans, and yet they don't seem to be suffering politically as much as I would think because of it. I mean, why?
Anthony.
That's for anybody.
No, I mean, I feel like we have talked about this a lot. Is a lot of our Republican friends don't see anything going wrong with the Republican Party right now. I
Yeah.
do think a lot of these Republicans are feeling a lot of their constituents calling them. Like, I think the perfect example here is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She would not be as outspoken as she was and resigning from Congress if her office hasn't been flooded with phone calls.
And
about
her own
this.
daughter was going to be affected by it.
Right.
Yeah. In what way again? What was that?
Her healthcare premium was going to go up. I think it was her daughter-in-law. She was telling the story about how her healthcare premium was going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, mine went up 3x already. I know.
Wow.
I know my parents for next year, they're on what
Medicare.
Medicare. Their program went up 10x.
Whoa. On Medicare or on
They're getting rid of like whatever program they had, which was really low to begin with, but still, like, those are big numbers to be talking.
Mhm.
And when already things are so expensive in the world, or in our country at least, let alone having that knock on
It's
your,
crazy. I mean, I had to we have to shop for like temporary health care because I lost my union insurance last year, and then Billy, because I didn't make enough money as a writer, and then this year, Billy, who always has steadily worked because of the state of our industry, didn't work as much as he usually does. And the way that his union insurance works is it's like per quarter, and you have to qualify with a number of hours. And he was 2 hours short of the necessary hours to keep our health insurance. So then now we have to shop for new health insurance at a time when, and it's very eye-opening, like at a time when, like we're thinking about maybe starting a family. I want to keep my gynecologist for that reason. But often when you go on a low-cost plan, you can't keep some of your nicer doctors. And so now we're in this whole thing where it's like, we probably will get our insurance back in April, but that's a few months of needing to pay. And it's like, okay, so we're going to pay like $1,500 for the two of us so that I can keep one doctor so that I feel comfortable about the decision of maybe trying to get pregnant. It's like, and this is from like an incredibly privileged position. And so it was just very eye-opening of realizing like the hoops you have to jump through, even if you just, even if you're just trying to do things as simply as possible, is really crazy. And then so I can't even imagine being in a situation where I had kids who were on my healthcare. It's like I'm saying, I want to keep this one doctor for this one reason.
Right.
But like if you have kids, you want your kids to have the doctor that you want them to have, And I think a lot of the times if your plan's going up 4x, you have to change your entire healthcare apparatus, all of your providers, the way that you go to the doctor. And so I think that and I've said this before, what frustrates me about this whole thing is that, to your point, Anthony, or Michael, about the lack of a plan is, okay, you don't like how this is. Like, what's the alternative so that the blow is lessened? Like, yeah, maybe healthcare costs would go up, but what are you going to do to make sure that in that interim, it's at least not hitting people in the face January 1st when they only realized this was possible 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Well, we have some of our playlisters are pitching some solves for this. I don't know how realistic these are or how they're actually going to work to curb costs, but somebody who has actually been an early recognizer of this issue is Senator Josh Hawley, who we cover. Missouri, obviously a very red state, and quite frankly has a large number of voters and residents who are receiving Affordable Care Act subsidies. And, obviously they are Hawley voters. They're likely Trump voters. And yet, these are the people, Anna, you had mentioned like, well, finally these senators and congressmen are hearing from their constituencies. All of a sudden, these folks are really speaking up. And so Hawley, as I understand the bill or what he's pushing, he's trying to push for like no taxes on healthcare and on premiums.
Okay.
Which, it doesn't. It's unclear like what that's going to do. The thinking is that you'll have more money in your pocket to then pay for these.
Right. You're not having like fees and taxes on top of what.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I get that. Yeah.
It kind of goes back to like the old conservative Republican adage of like, oh, well, let's tax you less so that you then have more money that you can decide what you do with.
Right.
But, none of this. So effectively, he isn't proposing to extend the subsidies. He's going to have those subsidies end right away. But he's saying, oh, we'll make it up to you with no taxes on that down the road. And I think that, like, again, that is a great example of like, all right, well, that doesn't actually seem like it solves the problem. And it continues to seem like these Republicans are just more interested in getting caught trying for political reasons rather than actually solving these issues, because it really seems like one of the root causes here would be the insurance industry. That,
Well, yeah.
That seems to be the tree that's on fire here.
Yeah. I think that
So, yeah.
I think that Josh Hawley is one example. I think there's also more moderate lawmakers like Mike Lawler who are trying to kind of retain what they can of the subsidies without bucking their whole party. But I think that, the problem is that this isn't like a patchwork solution. One party or the other has to come up with a new way of dealing with this system. And I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know what that process is going to be. Obama tried to do it. I think Obamacare has been effective in insuring people, but it certainly has not fixed the problem of quality of care, price of care, all of that. So I think whether it's on the left, Medicare for all, whether it's on the right and doing it in a much more free market way that promotes more competition, I don't know what that looks like, but like there is a large solution that has to come here. And this patchwork of, okay, because by the way, I kind of agree with, I think Dan Crenshaw tweeted something about this a while ago. Like, if you need subsidies, it's too expensive, right? Like the
Right.
fact that there are subsidies at all says that it is flawed. And I agree with that. But you can't just be like giving subsidies, taking them away, giving subsidies, taking them away. Like people have lives to plan, and it's not fair to American people to do that.
Well, and I think so. One of the things that Mike Lawler, along with Kevin Kiley, who's another young Republican from our state, California, they're proposing an extension, a limited extension, but that one that would keep the subsidies for I think 1 or 2 years, but then
Yeah, I think it was
also
1 year.
but then putting a bunch of guardrails on it, right? So it's like basically limiting eligibility, cracking down on their favorite words, fraud and abuse,
Waste,
which
fraud, and
seems
abuse,
more
actually.
like that's on the insurance side of things rather than the user, and basically like trying to keep this going without expanding the deficits too much. It remains to be seen what's possible there. And, for the Democrats' part, I mean, this really is in the hands of getting a few Republicans to agree to something that all Democratic members could swallow or stomach, rather. And it doesn't look like we're there at all. It certainly doesn't look like we're there in the Senate.
Yeah.
But it does seem like more House Republicans are recognizing the need to do this than in the Senate.
Well, because they're up for re-election.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So stay tuned, which is our 2 new favorite words. You know what? Before we move on, I want to kind of tease a little something. I had referenced Orlando, and we've talked about the fact that we've been doing a little fun party in Orlando, a super secret political playlist mission. And we were talking with somebody there who made a really interesting comment when he was saying how in Washington, the reality is that every little bill, as minor or micro as it might seem, to address an issue becomes then the to-do list item regarding that issue for 10 years, he said. So it's like if you pass a little subsidy thing here, boom.
That's
the way
it.
that
We're not
that's
going to deal
often
with
treated-
healthcare again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the healthcare thing. We did it. See you in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And, this person was talking about how that's really frustrating because you try to get everything in these bills and so little of it actually makes it through.
Right.
And then when they finally agree on this little thing that moves the needle, it's like, great, okay, we're done with that for a while.
Yeah.
And, I predict that these subsidies are not going to be adequately solved or addressed. And it's going to be a recurring problem that we're going to see come up again and again.
Well, speaking of healthcare and the health of Americans, breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. Haley Stevens from Michigan has filed articles of impeachment against Robert Kennedy Jr. He is,
Whoa.
if you guys don't know who he is and have been living under a rock, he is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So we've interviewed Haley Stevens. She's actually running for the open Senate seat in Michigan. Unfortunately, this probably has zero chance of advancing through a Republican-controlled House. But why is she doing this? She's arguing that his actions and public remarks have jeopardized public health, increased the cost of healthcare, and cut important medical research programs. She's made this off of many pro-science groups who have come out and warned that Kennedy's 10-month tenure has been costing American lives and he must be removed. So how did this all start? So Stand Up for Science, it's a political group formed to defend America's science community, began circulating a petition to impeach him and remove him. Specifically, the petition really focuses on Kennedy lying to Congress by telling senators during his confirmation that he would not undermine the nation's vaccine development, approval, and regulatory systems. So here's a quote from Haley Stevens in her impeachment announcement. She said, "It's a public health and safety issue. And when I have Michigander Michiganders who have daughters or sons going through clinical cancer research trials that are stopped in the middle because of RFK. When I introduce legislation to reinstitute the funding for those clinical trials and it doesn't get done, when I've called on him to step down and he doesn't, this is a safety issue. I'm sure also many of you have all heard about some of these research trials being cut. It's really sad. In California, I know it's really happened on Alzheimer's, and California as a state has really stepped up to kind of fill that void. I think, two other just really interesting points here is Hakeem Jeffries was asked about this. He's the minority leader for the Democratic Party in the House. And he says Republicans will never allow articles of impeachment to be brought to the floor of the House of Representatives. And we know that's the case because Donald Trump will order them not to do this. And even more so, there was another articles of impeachment that was put out this week from another Michigander on Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of War.
Now, Anthony, hang on. He is the Defense Secretary.
Secretary of Defense.
He's not the Secretary of War.
You're playing right into his hands.
Yeah. No. We're not. We're not doing this, guys.
Honestly, Pete would probably be on my side because after a cocktail or two, you mix and match those words.
Yeah.
So I'm maybe kind of curious. We'll leave the alcoholic to talk about later. But what about on the RFK side? Do you guys feel he deserves this?
Well, yes.
Personally, I agree, but I actually think it's kind of a bad move. And this is why. I think that an attempt to impeach RFK Jr. only strengthens him in Trump's eyes, because any attempt, anybody who is targeted by Democrats specifically, especially officially in this way, becomes ingratiated to Trump. And I actually think that there are members of Trump's own party, like Bill Cassidy, who is a senator, who is a doctor from Louisiana, who's a Republican, who has been very outspoken about RFK, even though he voted to confirm him, and some other people in Congress and the House who have also talked about sort of the irresponsibility, not specifically of RFK, but of halting some of these research trials. And so I sort of feel like I get where Haley Stevens is coming from. Part of me, unfortunately, feels like this is a little bit of a move because she's running for Senate and wants to keep her name in the news. Sorry, Haley. But I also think that RFK Jr. is so not qualified to be doing this job, and I think is doing such a poor job at it, that I feel like if Democrats had kept speaking out against it, sharing information from their constituents, just like she referenced, but not made this official move, I feel like Trump would have kind of let RFK Jr. eat himself. It would have, it kind of all, I mean, I would have
the
put
brain
it past
worm.
him. Yeah, the worm would have consumed him.
The worm.
But I feel like, unfortunately, with this happening, it gives him power in Trump's eyes. And yeah.
But it feels like this is the new, writing a stern letter. It was I'm going to file articles of impeachment.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I also think it's losing its power, right? We're just going to keep impeaching everybody, or trying to. But yeah, I don't think...
It was interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Well, I was just going to say, I was listening to a clip from the Pivot podcast with Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway. And Galloway's prediction the other day was that Hegseth, RFK Jr., and Kash Patel are not going to last another 30 days. That those are the three that seem to be in the line of fire for different reasons. A full internal revolt at the FBI over Kash Patel and his they call it Make-A-Wish director, which is, it was pretty wild. And then
such
apparently Republicans and Democrats alike roll their eyes when you bring up Hegseth and just his massive unqualified resume. And then RFK, there's genuine alarm because, a lot of these lawmakers have kids or grandkids, and they're this vaccine shit is actually becoming bananas, that parents are taking their kids to the doctors and they're having to say, okay, what's this new vaccine schedule? the government isn't recommending any vaccines. And you really have to just go with the advice of your pediatrician, who, by the way, more times than not, I would trust over these lawmakers. But nevertheless, the whole idea of CDC is to offer that science-backed guidance. And this vaccine board is literally populated with the biggest vaccine skeptics that we have in this country. And it's so detrimental to our health, and it's just one big disaster. So,
Yeah.
I'm eating those.
I know.
Guys,
Why
I'm
are you eating
Andes
in the middle of a podcast?
because they were here and
Michael,
I wanted them.
We had a conversation the other night about your diet, and you're eating chocolates.
Are these little like Andes Thin Mints?
Those are the best.
Normally, I would say anytime I talk to Anna on the phone, she is eating something. It is so annoying.
Yeah,
are we airing our grievances right now? Is that what
yeah,
we're doing?
please.
Yeah,
but
this is
that's by the way, fair. But I'm not eating on the podcast.
And she's like, I just finished a workout, so I gotta like get these.
She's like,
you know,
I'm just making a
get
quick
this in."
salad from Goop.
Yeah, I'm like,
Let me shake it
what's
up real
going
quick.
on?
I love a Goop
Yeah.
salad. Okay, well, speaking of Senate
Salads.
races, sort of salads.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun,
salads,
spicy salads.
you know how there's a lot of ingredients in a salad, and you gotta
Ooh, I
mix
like
it up
this.
sometimes
Mhm.
to really like figure out which combination is going to be the best, right? Are you with me?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm following.
What if I told you that there is
Mm.
a salad happening in the Texas Senate race in 2026?
Ooh, I like it. I
Was
like
that
it.
a good
I'm
transition?
in. Is
Are
it a
you gonna-
Southwest salad?
Who's gonna toss this salad for us?
It is a Southwest salad being tossed by the Democratic Party.
Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, so here's what's happening. The Texas Senate race in 2026, there's a few Republicans running, including incumbent John Cornyn. And then on the Democratic side, the first to announce a bid for Senate was former Congressman Colin Allred, who ran against Cornyn, or no, not against Cornyn, against
Cruz.
Cruz. Sorry, thank
Yeah.
you. Against Ted Cruz.
Old Teddy.
2 years ago, and he lost, and Allred was basically relaunching a bid for 2026. Then a young man named James Tallarico, who is a state representative from Austin and has been viral on social media. And even if you don't know his name, you've probably seen him come up on your feed if you are listening to this podcast. And he is a Presbyterian, progressive populist from the Austin area. He often combines faith with populist political ideas. He has a great phrase that I think is really good, which is that the only minority in this country that we should be afraid of is the billionaire class. And I think that that is a really great populist progressive message. So basically it was Allred, who's kind of seen as like more moderate, more traditional, Tallarico, who's seen as more left, but kind of in this interesting way, and also kind of this like younger, newer star. And then Jasmine Crockett announces that she's going to run for Senate. So Jasmine Crockett, if you don't know who she is, although you probably do, she's a young representative from Texas. She is known for her clapbacks to a lot of Republicans in hearings. She's very outspoken, very savvy on social media, and has amassed a giant following specifically of women, specifically of African Americans on social media who love her. So Allred basically decides, I don't want this race to go into a runoff, which means that one of the primary nominees would not get 50%, which probably, if all three of them were running, that probably would happen. So he says, I'm going to leave this Senate race, and then I'm going to go run for the newly drawn 33rd district, which is one of two winnable seats in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And this newly drawn district is existing thanks to the most recent SCOTUS decision, which upheld the partisan maps that were pushed by Trump and passed by the Texas legislature earlier this year. This district, third district, has about a third of residents from Allred's former district that he previously represented. And he is running in the primary against his successor, Representative Julie Johnson, a Democrat, who is also the first openly LGBTQ plus representative from Texas.
Wow.
So there's some people who are like, why are you unseating this woman who made history, or trying to unseat this woman who made history? He obviously feels like he's the one who should win.
Interesting.
So that race is going to be messy. And now we have Tallarico and Crockett, who are both viral social media stars for very, very different reasons in the Senate race. And because there's only two of them, the race will probably avoid a runoff, which means that Democrats can start spending on the general election right in March after the election as opposed to May. So that's my Texas salad.
Well, also, I think there's a couple takeaways from here that I want to point out as well. On the Republican side, we have Wesley Hunt running, and he's a young member of Congress who we cover. He is a congressman from Texas's 38th district,
Wow.
I think.
I feel like you just pulled that out of your ass.
That was good acting, right? I'm looking at his bio right now. And so, we had Colin Allred. We now have Tallarico. We've got Crockett. We've got Wesley Hunt. And then two older guys, Ken Paxton and John Cornyn on the Republican side. So, 4 out of 6, and I guess now 3 out of 5 are below the age of 45. And so to me, that is a really exciting and interesting thing to point out in a state
That's a win.
like Texas.
That's a win.
that like you would
tends to be very traditional.
I would not pick Texas to be nominating, or not necessarily nominating, but having this many young people.
The other thing that I just wanted to point out, and then Anthony, you had something to say, but when you were reading that off, I realized, but the other whole wrench in this is that on the Republican side, they do have 3 strong candidates. So the Republican side might go to a runoff because it's very likely that one of them might not get 50%, in which case Democrats will have a head start on campaigning for the general election before Republicans will, which also could be a huge difference.
I think that Wesley Hunt is going to drop out. I don't think he's got the financial backing or the momentum in the way that
I think it'll be Cornyn again, honestly.
Yeah, but don't underestimate Paxton, because Paxton is definitely leaning into the MAGA messaging.
That's true.
And I think Wesley Hunt is a big MAGA proponent, wrapped in this sort of ex-military clothing, and I think that he's a very sharp politician. So never say never, but I see him dropping out under pressure from Trump because the polling is more favorable to somebody like Ken Paxton to unseat, to primary out Cornyn. But should that happen, as we've seen in so many of these primaries where the Trump-backed candidate wins, often further right, a little more radical in some of their positions, then does not fare well in a general, and I could see a Paxton Tallarico matchup that leads to Tallarico pulling off a huge upset.
Could you imagine? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I think if it becomes those two candidates, Tallarico knows how to speak Ken Paxton. And I think what's made him so effective on social media is you listen to how he talks and you say to yourself, wow, this guy is absolutely getting through to these more moderate, even conservative Texas folks. And yet he's not a conservative by any means. And he just knows how to talk like a, I think what you would think of as a Texan, heavy religious, heavy principled, and it'll be interesting to see.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think more people, I think Tallarico is the best chance for the Democrats winning this. I don't think Jasmine Crockett is the right choice here, but we shall see.
We shall see.
I would agree with that. And I would also add too, something that I thought was really, really cool to see was the video that Tallarico posted when Jasmine Crockett announced she was running. And, it was a very positive, uplifting video from the standpoint of like, hey, let's have a great, welcome to the race. Let's have a great, let's have a good, clean fight was sort of the takeaway. And I think that, call me shamefully optimistic here, but man, if we could just sort of take that attitude when it comes to some of these primaries and intra-party matchups, I mean, let that be a lesson for Democrats as we head into 2028, where everyone and their mother is going to be running for president.
Yeah.
Let's bring the good vibes and throw a party that people want to go to.
Good vibes, guys.
Vibes. I'm just like a vibes guy now, I think.
You're hung out with too many Gen Zs in Florida.
I know. I do.
And so let's not scare the audience, Mike.
You know what won't scare the audience though is our win of the week.
Let's go. Let's go. We're going back to Florida, baby. Anna, Paulina, Luna, not Anna, Muskie, Goldwyn.
Good similar cadence though, right?
Although you guys, I think, could be gal pals.
Do you think so? Maybe.
I think you would have more in common than you think.
Probably.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't think we can chalk this up as like totally a win just yet, but it's like we're looking good. Anna Paulina Luna filed a discharge petition, which is one of those old school, archaic, inside baseball things to force bringing this congressional stock trading bill stock trading ban bill to the floor for a vote. It hasn't happened yet, but basically she was on CNN today calling out both Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries, and definitely was like way more critical of Hakeem Jeffries for opposing stock trading than Speaker Mike Johnson. Yeah, which was interesting. But basically she's saying leadership are the ones getting in the way of this, but she claims to have a lot of allies, and we're going to see. I don't know if this is going to pass, but she is continuing to fight this. And
I feel like a version of it could. I think it'll be kind of similar that we saw with her discharge petition with Brittany Peterson that ended up actually not going because Anna Paulina Luna kind of like caved a little bit, but passed sort of a version of it. And I wonder if that's sort of what will happen here, that the threat of the discharge petition will force leadership force Mike Johnson specifically to kind of bring some version of this to the floor, and that it'll be like a stock trading ban light, which by the way, I actually feel on this issue, even if there's some guardrails put in place and it's not what everybody, like all of them, I still think that could be good. Which I don't always feel about issues. I think that like sometimes you have to go big or go home, but with this, it's kind of like, well, if we can continue to push some guardrails on this, I feel like it will add more integrity to our political system.
Anthony, final thoughts?
It's actually just really interesting with the discharge petitions happening right now because the House just used it again for something else. So it's kind of it's really interesting to see this being used so often.
Yeah. Well, you know what it tells me, which is that politics itself, like within Congress, there's almost like a democratization of it where politicians are feeling more emboldened to buck leadership over issues that they perceive as being popular to the public. And I think that's a good thing. But I think that what would be even better is if the people who are in charge would listen to what most of the public wants and not make these politicians do the runaround on these issues.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Well, we shall see. Or as Michael said earlier, stay tuned.